Hello YouTube! So today we'll be talking about the second episode of Night Visions. Now, much like for the first one, I will be talking about the twist, so yeah, you've been warned for spoilers on that. So before I start talking about the episode itself, I want to bring up the intro. Now, I didn't bring it up in the last one, but that's because I wanted to see if they would change it again. Pretty much what I'm talking about is that for each episode, they'll have clips specific to that one episode, with some clips from other episodes thrown in there. Now, I actually do kind of like this. It shows a little bit more effort on their part, and it does show that it specifies for which episode it is. That and the intro opens up with a needle falling into an eye. I just sort of think that's pretty cool, and it's probably one of the best shots from this show. So saying that one of the best shots from the show is in the intro is either good or bad. Take it or leave it. So with that, let's actually get into what happens in this episode, which starts off with the host actually having a little bit of energy to him. I mean, yeah, he still has like 5 seconds to his parts, but at least he's giving it some more effort, which is nice. So yeah, with that, let's actually get into the first story, which is Dead Air. And it's about Tom, a shock jock who mostly specializes in horror stories. And pretty much he just sort of insults his buddy Pete and his girlfriend's their lack of being engaged yet for no real reason on air. Like all good best friends do, obviously. And so, yeah, if you thought there was any sympathy for this guy, yeah, it's kind of gone, because that was really uncalled for, and yeah, there's no real reason to do that. I mean, maybe if it wasn't on air, that would be something else, but the fact that he insulted to a lot of listeners is another matter altogether. So, yeah, anything that happens to him in this episode, I do not care. So, yeah, anyway. So then he keeps on getting this weird call from some guy saying how he tied someone up in duct tape because he was a cocky guy. And, yeah, then he started cutting into him and stuff. And, yeah, this isn't weird to Tom at all. I mean, yeah, okay, he does listen to horror stories a lot, but still, the amount of detail this guy's going into and his sheer enjoyment of it, yeah, that should be something that you should question a little. And the fact that he wants to share it so much that he called you twice, I'm just saying that might be a little bit of a red flag there. But anyway, yeah, he just ignores him and he gets this call from someone named Laura. It's always weird when a show uses your actual name, isn't it? Like, does anyone else find that weird? Because I do. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, Laura's at a sorority, and yeah, she's mostly studying with her friend, but she's been having a really weird night so far, and that nothing really overly weird has been happening to her. She just gets that weird feeling when you get alone sometimes, because her friend's been out for a while, and yeah, it's beginning to be a little bit weird. And then she gets pizza. Oh, the horror. But then there's a dead rat in it. So yeah, that pizza might not be that good anymore. I'm just saying, I would probably throw it out. And then the same thing happens to Tom. He gets a pizza and then a dead rat's in it. Then some more weird things start happening to Laura as well as Tom, but things aren't really serious to him until his neon sign in the back turns into the word dead. Yeah, I don't know why that would be the major thing to scare him there, but yeah, that makes all this really serious to him for some reason. The fact that your stories were coinciding, that's not weird, but oh my god, someone changed a sign! The horror! And then changed it back to what it actually is. You know, if he didn't see that, then I mean, like, that would just be a waste of time for you there. But yeah, anyway, Laura eventually sees some muddy footprints, and she thinks that it's just her friends. So she follows them, and yeah, then she finds her friend's bloody body just sort of hidden in the laundry room, and that's really weird. So she hangs up, and yeah, she doesn't call back. So then Tom sees the exact same muddy footprints and decides, well, yeah, this is a little bit weird. I should probably follow this, given that the place is locked up and all. So yeah, he follows them back. So yeah, he follows them into his buddy Pete's room. So yeah, he thinks that this was all some elaborate prank, but Pete is hung. So now things are really serious. And so some funny music plays. I love contradictory music. So yeah, anyway, then he goes through the whole entire place until bumping into Pete's girlfriend Nadine, who is also dead. And if you're wondering why they've been killed, well, I really don't know. It actually makes a little bit less sense later. It's just like this guy just wanted to make it a little bit more serious, I guess. But yeah, anyway, then he sees the pizza delivery guy is in the room. Oh my god! So yeah, it turns out that he was actually just doing an impersonation of Laura, and yeah, he's behind it all. Why, you might be wondering? Because Tom hung up on his call. Yeah, he was the duct tape guy. Sinister motives there. You hung up on my call. It made me really upset. So why exactly you decided to kill Pete and Nadine? I really don't know. They had no bearing on this scenario at all, and yeah, it's not like they shut off your call or anything. If you're specifying it to Tom, you don't even know if he likes these people. So, I mean, really, like, he insulted them on air, so as far as you know, he hates these people. So, like, why kill them exactly? It's not like it's gonna get to him. But yeah, anyway, so then he kills Tom, maybe? They don't really show it. But there's a gunshot, so I don't know, maybe he died. And then the pizza delivery guy takes over the show. Exactly what he always wanted to do for like 5 minutes, but then the show gets cut off. So, yeah. And he did all this just to tell a stupid little duct tape tale. If only he didn't do all this and just sort of waited for a few years, then he could have gone onto Tumblr or something and tons of people would have listened to that. For the first story, let's start off with its problems. For one, and probably one of the most obvious, is that Tom is not a very likable character, so really, for most of the story, I didn't really care about what happened to him. He doesn't have that many redeeming moments. I mean, the most that happens is that he seems really scared by this guy and realizes, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have cut your call off without really giving it a chance other than like 30 seconds. I mean, like, what's the point of his show even if he just, like, decides, yeah, nah, this story's boring. Anyway, next, what is this show even about then? I don't get why he would do that. Like, it doesn't seem like that there are that many callers. There are 2 whole people this night, which are the same person, so yeah, I don't really get why he decided to cut off this one, which, by the way, at the end of the episode, people express interest in it, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe the pizza delivery guy just needed to tell it with Tom's voice, and that would have made it really great. I don't know. Then there's also that the story just really takes a while for anything scary to happen. Most of it's just sort of moderately annoying pranks until Pete and Nadine show up dead, and when that happens, it's near the end of the episode. However, that is when the pace starts building up, and after that, it does become a pretty fun episode, which I'll get into more in my positive part for it, but yeah, still, for a lot of it, it's just sort of, hey, look at this, a dead rat and pizza! Oh, and now there's like this branch root thing in this guy's drink! Oh yeah, we are masters of horror here, and no. No. When did he even put the root in his drink? I don't even know when that happened. It's a weird thing. Laura doesn't even mention it, so why does it matter? But why did it even show up? But yeah, whatever. That was a weird part to me, but kind of made me think, well, maybe witchcraft is involved in this for some reason? But nope, it's just some slasher, so I really don't know what was going on with that. Like, why did he decide to put a root in this guy's drink? I would have gone with a dead rat's skeleton or something. That would have been way more effective and would have kind of steered away from witchcraft ideas. Seriously, like, whenever you think of a horror story with roots and stuff, you either think Evil Dead or you think witches. I'm just saying, or at least that's what I think of. Oh, and then there's the pizza delivery guy himself, whose motives are his story was cut off. Yeah. mean, I guess people have killed over less, but I mean, dude, it was your little story there. I mean, heck, the guy from the last episode who killed over his trusted friend seeing drugs had more of a motive than you. At least there he could have gotten thrown in jail or something, but you, oh, my story got cut off, and that made me really sad. I mean, you could just had him be like, I don't know, a victim of some of Tom's abuse, which he has shown, like his verbal and humiliating abuse that he's done on air. That would have had a point to Pete and Nadine, who I'll get into a second, but no, that's not it at all, unless that happened off screen. But no, instead he's just like, oh, well, you cut off my little story, so I'm gonna get revenge by, I don't know, taking over your show for like 5 minutes. Why didn't you just call another radio station? Just saying, like, just call another channel. Just like, are there no other radio shows that are having horror-based broadcasts on Halloween? I'm just saying, this really seems a little bit unbelievable for some odd reason, but yeah, I guess he just really had to share it with this one radio station. Since this one guy ignored him, that was just it. That was his breaking point. And yeah, you could just say, oh, well, you know, I mean, he's psychotic, so that's his reason, but that's a really lame stressor there. Just like, oh man, someone won't listen to my story. Well, time to go on a murderous rampage. That makes total sense. Oh, but I also need to, you know, change some lights, put dead rats in pizzas and stuff like that. Because, you know, reasons. And then there's Pete and Nadine, who have no real point to this story at all. Yeah, really, their biggest contribution here is that Pete says that one day someone's gonna get Tom back. So, yeah, foreshadowing, very obvious foreshadowing. And also them dying later. Truly a use of their characters. I don't even think that Nadine says anything. I think that she has like one sentence maybe, but then after that, nope, she's just gone. And I really don't get their point to this episode other than to just have a higher body count, but still, really, there's no point to these characters, and yeah, they're just pretty pointless, and they don't get that much character at all anyway. Pete's just sort of this sort of nice guy. We don't get to know much about him. And Nadine is his girlfriend. Incredible. I mean, at the very least, Tom has a personality. I mean, he's a credible a-hole, but yeah, it's a personality at the very least. Pete and Nadine are just there, and that's sort of it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the negatives, but what about the positives for this story? Well, I can't say it was pretty fun. Like I said, when it starts moving away from the prank stuff, then it actually does have a pretty good pace to it, and actually has some fun with it. I really do enjoy it when the out-of-place music starts playing, and yeah, at that point, I was just sort of enjoying the rest of it, and by the end, I was just having a fun time with this story. And it does a good job invoking the time of year. It seems to take place around Halloween, and that really does show. There are characters bringing their masks and stuff to work, although then again, I don't really know if Tom usually does horror stories, so maybe that's just a gimmick of his, I don't know. It's all about telling scary stories. Halloween pranks are going on during the whole thing, which eventually take a step too far. And there's murder, the best thing to invoke the time of year. So yeah, it does a pretty good job at invoking that sort of feel, and does kind of give me a sort of Halloween 3 sort of vibe with how it does that. I mean, it doesn't go that far into it, or trick-or-treat style or anything, but still, it does have a very fun time with the time of year, and it does take advantage of parts that are very reminiscent of the season. For the story overall, I enjoyed it. It did a good job invoking that time of season, and I had a lot of fun with it. That said, there are major problems to it, which, yeah, do kind of hinder my enjoyment of it, but I do still enjoy it at the very least for the ending. And if you're looking for something to get you in that sort of Halloween mood, then yeah, this is a pretty decent place to start. And then there's the second story, Renovation, which is about family with a recently born son that moves into a bit of a fixer-upper. Things are fine at first, but then the husband starts skipping out on his AA meetings, having nightmares, and keeps on seeing and hearing weird things while in the house. And yeah, that gets worse until eventually he goes back to drinking, which causes him to get a little bit violent. But then he comes to an ultimate revelation. This used to be his house. Oh, and also that his dad murdered his mother while he watched as he was a baby. So, yeah, is it really a surprise that he took to drinking? And then he decides to relive his babyhood by playing with a toy that he used to have. And yeah, the wife just sort of leaves him to it because yeah, he seems a little bit happier when he's doing that. So yeah, she just takes the baby and runs. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, if that story's a little bit familiar to you somehow, yeah, you might be thinking about, oh, I don't know, a kind of famous horror movie and story, The Shining. Yeah, it's pretty much The Shining. It's yeah, it's not very different at all. It's essentially just The Shining, and yeah, they didn't really take that many liberties to change the story. Heck, I'm surprised that Stephen King didn't sue over this, because this is very similar to that story. But yeah, moving aside from its similarities to that, it is still a pretty decent episode. I mean, The Shining, wow, yes, it's very obvious that that's what it's ripping off. It's still a very good story, and yeah, for the most part, it does emulate those ideas pretty well. And for the most part, what it does with the story is pretty decent, and it does explore it in its own ways, mostly having it be about trying to relive childhood instead of, well, just slowly going into madness. That, and it's mostly playing with the main character's bad state of mind instead of just there being ghosts causing this mostly. Now, yes, okay, it is up for debate if it were actually ghosts causing any of this in The Shining, or if he just wasn't imagining it all, but still, yeah, it's very obvious that ghosts were at least involved a little, whereas in this, yeah, it's mostly just sort of this guy's state of mind, which I did like seeing explored a little bit. And it is a pretty sad conclusion. Instead, he's pretty much just left insane and left to trying to rekindle that youth that he lost a long time ago. The second story is pretty good for what it is, and it has some good performances in there, but still, it's a very blatant ripoff of a much more popular story that does do it a bit better. Not only does it have more time to go into it, but it also has more time to expand on things, as this story just only has about 25 minutes to go into it, and yeah, amazingly, that doesn't leave that much room for as much development. Like, the wife, she barely has that much time, and yeah, the kid, well, obviously, since it's a baby, it's not gonna be as interesting as the psychic kid from The Shining, but yeah, still, I mean, obviously, we don't get into this baby's life story, so yeah, but still, for the main character, he's alright, and I do like sort of seeing him dissolve into madness here, but still, though, I think that with a bit more time, it could have been handled better. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode. Bye.